Snug-fitting tops are increasingly common, and there's no reason to intervene here. The law on equipment says that players cannot wear anything that is dangerous and stipulates the basic kit as a jersey or shirt with sleeves, plus shorts, socks, shin guards and footwear. This kit does not contravene any obvious section of the law, so you would let them wear it.
Welcome back to the Ref Show with Mark Halsey and with Carlton Palmer. As promised, we're going to discuss the Championship and the Select Group 2 panel of referees. Just overall, there weren't any or too many adverse headlines surrounding referees over the weekend. So what's your assessment?
Well, not according to Benitez, look, in the Fulham game.
That one stands out.
It does stand out, and obviously I don't think Diamantino will be very happy as well with the non-penalty award at Sheffield Wednesday. So there'll be two managers there that won't be happy with the Select Group 2 officials.
Would you be happy? In their position, would you be unhappy as well?
Oh, absolutely, and I think Carlton would be as well as a player. I mean, looking at the Fulham game, I watched the Fulham game. Simon Hooper, I think Norwich fans will remember Simon Hooper because he had the first game of the season last season in the Select Group 1. Norwich City, Crystal Palace, where he made quite a few errors, and obviously again on Friday there was a handball incident just before Fulham went up the other end and made it 1-0. It was absolutely nailed on. I mean, I'm one of these that protect referees when handball's concerned, but this was absolutely nailed on handball. It couldn't be anything else. And if I'm being ultra critical, then I think Simon has to look at his positioning. I think he was just a bit too far to left. If he'd been infield a bit, he would have seen it. But he had a good view anyway. So I'm looking at things to try and help him out here, but I can't. And Newcastle would be very aggrieved. And then second half, they had another penalty shout towards the end of the game. I don't think anybody would have complained had he given it. The defender knew exactly what he was doing.
Against that, 9 games on the Saturday, I don't think there was a major headline from any of them. We were talking about, just to name check a few referees: Tim Robinson, Tony Harrington. Some of these names will be unfamiliar to you. James Adcock, Jeremy Simpson, Jeff Eltringham. Who else have we got? Keith Stroud, veteran. Andy Woolmer, Andy Davis, Scott Duncan. I want to mention Scott Duncan. Carlton, I'm not sure if you saw this incident or not. The only red card in the Championship was in the Rotherham Wolves game. And that was a straight red for Dominic Iorfa of Wolves for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. He fouled John Taylor.
He's spot on. He's spot on. But listen, this is part of the game. This is talking points in the pub on a Saturday night for punters. Never going to be all spot on all the time. There's always going to be disagreements. Benitez is going to be unhappy like I would be, and so will the players. But over the course of the season, you will get things go for you in your favour. That will not decide Newcastle's fate this season.
But it's spot on what you're saying about creating talk in the pubs, because this new law now that's come up regarding Dogso. Let's get one thing straight. Had that challenge taken place in the penalty area, it would have been a penalty and still a red card because he hasn't made a genuine attempt to play the ball. So it still would have been a red card. So let's get this, make sure this is right to all our viewers, that just because there's a foul in the box, it doesn't mean to say it's not going to be a red card.
It was good to see Duncan really close to that incident and being courageous and instantaneous with his.
I mean, I thought it was excellent the way he came out with his red card straight away, and there was no complaints, no complaints whatsoever. So well done, Scott.
Okay, the Sheffield Wednesday Aston Villa game. Steve Martin was in charge of that. It was quite a tepid first half, and yet we ended at half-time with five yellow cards, which surprised a lot of people. But technically, wasn't he right?
I mean, once again, you can argue about what we said before about you're careless, you're reckless, managing the game. I suppose being his first game of the season, they're all a little bit rusty as well. You could argue both ways, really.
Technically,
I know the fact.
Technically, he was correct, but I think he was a bit pedantic, and he put himself in a position where he's had to let a couple of things go with players in the second half because he's given those bookings in the first half, and that's what you've got to be careful of.
But when you have these games, they're all big games in the Championship, and Carlton's absolutely right. That first yellow card's got absolutely be nailed on. If you isn't, you're putting yourself in trouble, like he said. And I know we had lots of tweets in from the Sheffield Wednesday fans not happy with his performance, but they should be because my opinion, the officials have missed a blatant penalty for Aston Villa before you went up and Sheffield Wednesday went up and got the winner.
Hutchinson was the first yellow, I think, for just a shirt pull. You think that was the one that was unnecessary, maybe?
For me, that's a manageable one.
It is.
It's a shirt pull. It's his first offence. Listen, son, come on. Opening day of the season, settle down.
I can understand it.
Dealt with.
Later on, he was given the benefit.
Yeah, but
he could have had a second.
See,
yellow.
Well, he should have had a second yellow card. That was a yellow card. But then he's got to send him off, hasn't he?
Yeah, but the first one, if it's a clear shirt pull, he's yanked him back, he's denying a promising attack, then he deserves a yellow card. Where you can manage and use a bit of common sense, law 18, which a lot of them don't use these days. If there's a little bit of a tug, he's going nowhere. He's not a promising attack. He's just going towards the touch line or in midfield, going nowhere. Those you can manage. You can manage those.
Yeah, there was an incident as well where Gary Gardner came in with what looked a really reckless challenge early on. There wasn't any action on that, but Keith Hackett was quite praiseworthy watching the performance on TV overall of a very promising young referee in Steve Martin, but also making the point of how correct he was over the yellow card for diving, Ross Wallace.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Yeah. I don't think there was not much argument in the result, and Villa will argue about the penalty. I agree with Mike. I think it was a penalty. I think maybe Sheffield Wednesday just shaded the game. Villa would turn around and say they thought they deserved a point set and half, and if they get the penalty. But listen, I've always said this, over the course of a season, right, teams end up where they should be.
Yeah. But just going on from what Carlton said, it's absolutely spot on. We want that disease, we want to rid that from the game, the simulation. But you talk about Gary Gardner, that's where players get frustrated because he lets challenges like that go and he cautions someone for next to nothing. And knowing his brother Craig, they come out the same. I know what Craig's like with his challenges, and his brother, it sounds like his brother's exactly the same.
Okay, we better leave that one there. But we will talk now about the Youdan Trophy, which you were heavily involved in, Mark, on behalf of your other ref, as was Keith Hackett. And, second staging of this international youth tournament. Lots of clubs sending teams.
I mean, it's been fantastic. I mean, last year we had 8 teams. This year it's gone from 8 to 32 teams. Dean Moab's come in and taken control of the tournament director's done a tremendous job. With Roger as well, myself and Jock and some of the others, and Glenn with the assistant referees. So it's been fantastic, and we've had some great feedback from the clubs. We want. We've got clubs, Premier League clubs that want to join it again next season. So it was absolutely pleasure to be there, and obviously in charge of the referees, coaching the referees. I think the only downside for me was, we've had referees from America, from Denmark, from Norway, from Ireland, Republic and Northern Ireland, and from Sheffield and from around the country. We arranged to get a quality speaker in Mark Clattenburg to come and speak to these referees, and his application to come and speak to these guys was denied by the PGMOL because they classed it as an inappropriate event. We've got the world's best referee not allowed to come and speak to these young referees from around the world, and that was the thing that really annoyed me. Just imagine what Mark could have offered to these referees. An inappropriate event for Mark to attend to speak to referees when we've got top Premier League academies in this tournament, and it's an FA sanctioned event. Come on, please.
Surprising, very surprising. Carlton, good to see competitive football for young footballers. There's a lack of it.
There is. I mean, I missed it this year because obviously I was in China and then came back and I was on a family holiday. But I was involved last year and I came and spoke with Kevin Davis. It's good to see, and it's good competition for these kids. Good tournaments because they can do all the training in the academy. They need to play games and referee, but proper referees, standards high, good tournament, and played in the right spirit as well.
Jock Ward's got to take enormous credit for setting this, pulling this together. And you know, as I say, this could become the world's top tournament for academies, and even the clubs have said that. So you know, I take my hat off to Jock for pulling this together, and it's been absolutely wonderful tournament.
And also, he's planning one in New York as well now. In
China as well, I believe, but obviously next year as well. But congratulations to Seattle, who won the 16s, and Charlton that won the 14s.
They beat Sheffield Wednesday.
Beat Sheffield Wednesday in the final.
Sheffield Wednesday got to the
Let's
final.
not talk about that. We're all Wednesday, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Wednesday don't fare too well in finals, do they?
He's a Queen's Park Rangers fan. They don't even get to finals.
There you go, you are.
Carlton and Mark, thanks very much indeed. Thank you to you for watching. We'd like to hear from you as ever, and join us for another Ref Show next week. See you then. Bye.